you trick!
What if Daryl Dixon went face to face with the Yautja, aka the Predator? And now this is an idea that I've been thinking about for a long time, because Daryl Dixon is the best hunter and survivalist in the Walking Dead universe. And you have the Yautja, which is the universe's greatest hunter, part of the greatest hunting race. And it'd be very exciting to see the Predator in the Walking Dead universe facing off against the best survivalist in the Walking Dead. So this video is going to be a what if scenario if the Predator came across Daryl Dixon during season 9 when Rick went missing and Daryl was out on his own for 6 years. And to be specific, the version of the Predator that I'm going to be choosing for this video is the Jungle Hunter from the very first movie. And that's of course because Daryl's in the woods, and I think the Jungle Hunter would be the best fit for this scenario. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And the algorithm is absolutely killing my channel. Like, you know, it's not reaching out to enough people. And I don't know what happened. It's really bad for this channel right now. So I would like to ask you all to show your support, like the video as much as you guys can, share it as much as you guys can, and just subscribe to show YouTube that this channel is worth something. And if you guys want to see more videos from me, please like the video and help my channel out through this very rough time. But yeah, other than that, let's get right into the video. During the events of Season 9 of The Walking Dead, after Rick Grimes sacrifices himself to save the communities from a walker herd by blowing up the bridge, Daryl Dixon is determined to look for Rick Grimes once again, because they did not find a body and he believes that Rick is still alive. Where others gave up hope, Daryl Dixon is still looking for his brother. That's where he goes on a journey outside, and he spends his time mostly in the woods, avoiding contact from everyone and not going back to Alexandria, the kingdom, or the hilltop, because he's determined to look for Rick Grimes. And now during this journey, he comes across obstacles such as raiders and animals, and he makes quick work of these obstacles. But one day, while he's going out and he's hunting and he's trying to look for Rick again, he comes across something very strange, something that he's never seen before, or at least he hasn't seen all that often. And what he sees is bodies skinned alive that are hanging upside down from trees. And now Daryl thinks that this is done by some sort of community, such as the Saviors, because again, the Saviors were known for doing these kind of tactics. But this is very strange, because the precision that these people are skinned is something he's never seen before, because Daryl is an expert hunter. He skins animals for food. But these are humans that have been skinned and hanged upside down from trees. And to have this be done in such precision and also being hanged upside down from trees takes a lot of manpower, which Daryl does not see the point of. He doesn't see why would somebody come to the middle of the woods and just skin people and hang them upside down from the tree lines. And he thinks that this is some sort of community, some sort of group that are using intimidation tactics, but he doesn't really think much about it because he's about to go to his next destination. Yes, he is frightened from this and he's keeping his guard up, but again, like, he has to move on and he has to go off to look for Rick. So that very night, while Daryl sets up camp and he's cooking food, he hears a roar in the distance, and it sounds like a bear's roar. But he hears another roar alongside that, which doesn't seem like it's from any animal that he's witnessed before. And when he hears the bears roaring, he hears the other animal roaring as well. But then the bear's roars stop, and then it's only the other animal, which sounds like this particular animal has killed the bear successfully. Now when Daryl goes to investigate, he only comes across green glowing blood, and before he could investigate a little bit more, a walker herd comes. About 10 walkers come up on Daryl, and in the dead of night, Daryl does not have much supplies on him. He doesn't have much weapons on him, only his crossbow and his knives. So then he gets away from that area and he runs away. He finds camp somewhere else and he goes to sleep. And now the next morning, Daryl continues his journey to look for Rick Grimes, but then he comes across Leia. Now Leia has been living alone in a cabin in the middle of the woods, very close to the area where he set up camp from, and it's not very far from the area where he heard the bear and that other creature roaring. So then he asks Leia, and Leia does agree with Daryl, and she does say that she did hear the noises from the other night. And this gets them both very curious and thinking, what animal could possibly take down a bear? Because they heard 2 roars, and one of the roars continued on where the bear, they did hear it struggle a bit. But at the end, they both assumed that this could just be another species of bear, right? And this could be a brown bear or a grizzly bear, and both of them could have gotten into a fight, so then they didn't think too much about it. But Daryl still thinks back to the green glowing substance that he saw around the leaves and the grass that night, and Daryl, being the reserved person that he is, he doesn't tell Leia about it just yet. He keeps that information to himself. Then later that afternoon, Leia, Daryl, and Dog, they go out to scavenge for items and food. While they're in the middle of scavenging, Dog starts barking, and he starts barking towards the trees, and he's looking up, where Daryl and Leia, they hear kind of a rattling noise. Something is stalking them. The rattling is very similar to a rattlesnake, but this is much louder and it's coming from the trees. And while Dog is still barking at the anonymous figure in the trees, Daryl sees an outline, a transparent figure that is watching them from the trees, where he sees 3 dotted lines on Leia's head. And before Daryl could react, he sees a bolt of lightning coming from the trees and hitting Leia, where Daryl is taken aback and he's trying to gain his footing, where the creature finally reveals itself. It's an outline, it's a humanoid creature, and it has a mask on, and it's looking at Daryl dead straight in the eyes from his mask. Daryl could feel its presence, and he knows that this thing is dangerous and it's like nothing he's ever seen before. And then, just off of instinct, Daryl throws his knife at the creature and it scrapes its arm. This gets the creature distracted, where Daryl could make his way out with Dog. He gets on his bike and he leaves the area immediately. But then when he looks back, he sees the creature going up to Leia's body and taking out her spine clean from her body. Then he hears that same roar he heard from the previous night, and he knows for sure that this was the creature that killed the bear. And then Daryl immediately puts the pieces together, and he knows that the green glowing substance was the creature's blood. But without a second thought, he goes back to the cabin and he takes shelter, and he thinks of a way to take down this creature, because he knows that if he goes back to Alexandria, the creature is going to hunt him down even there. So he needs to keep everyone safe, and he needs to take this thing out before he could go anywhere else. And now during that night, Daryl is brainstorming onto how to kill this creature and how does this creature behave, because he assumes right away that the creature is intelligent and it was hunting them down. And with the technology that it has, it's way smarter than him and Leia. So he needs to stay one step ahead of this creature, and he knows that this thing is not going down easily. So he needs to find a way onto how to counter its technology. So that night, Daryl is very alert and he barely gets any sleep, because he knows that this creature is close by and it could easily kill him. So that's why Daryl is on watch at all times, and also Dog is on high alert as well. The next morning, when Daryl goes out to scavenge for food and supplies, he goes prepared. He has his crossbow, he has his knives, and he has a pistol, and also Rick's Colt Python. And when Daryl goes out to hunt with Dog, he is on high alert like how he was the previous night, because he knows that this creature is out there and this creature would not die so easily. So while he's scavenging, he's still looking out for the creature, and he's prepared this time for their next encounter. And while Daryl is scavenging, he comes across a few dead deer, half-eaten, and they are killed in a very barbaric way. At first he thinks that it's walkers, but he sees blade marks as well. Thinking that it's the creature, Daryl pulls out his crossbow and he's prepared for his encounter with the creature, where he hears the same rattling noise. He hears the creature once again. But before Daryl can make any movement, a walker jumps on Daryl. He kills the walker, and then he hears more rattling, where he sees the same laser which was on Leia, the 3-dotted laser from the trees. Daryl quickly pushes off the walker and he starts to run behind a tree. That's where the creature shoots his laser beam and it hits the tree, decimating it. A big explosion which catches Daryl off guard. Daryl starts to run a little bit more, and then he trips and falls into a muddy lake. Thinking that the creature is trailing him, Daryl stays in the lake, but that's when the creature walks right past of Daryl. And then this catches Daryl off guard as well, because he's covered in mud. So then he stays quiet and he stays still until the creature is gone. That's where Daryl comes to the conclusion that the creature can't see him when he's covered in mud, thinking that it's kind of like thermal scope technology. Then Daryl finds this to his advantage. He waits for the creature to fully go away, and then Daryl gets out of the mud, and then he goes back to the cabin. On his way to the cabin, he sees Dog running behind him, and he's shocked to see that Dog is still alive. So he assumes that either Dog was cloaked by the mud as well, maybe he fell into some muddy water as well, which the creature couldn't see him, or the creature does not kill unharmful beings, which is a very likely case as well, because this creature is intelligent and it looks like that he's hunting for the sport of it. Then Daryl plans out his next attack, very similar to walkers. When you cover yourself in walker blood and you walk among hordes and through walkers, they do not detect you. Daryl could use this to his advantage, where he could cover himself in mud, or he could go in a herd of walkers while covered in mud, and he could be cloaked from the being, confusing it and going for the killing blow. So that is what Daryl plans out for the night, and then he goes back to sleep, still on guard, but then he waits for the next day. And now the next day, Daryl comes even more prepared than the previous day. He goes out and he looks for a walker horde. When he finally finds it, he covers himself in mud, and also he kills a nearby walker and he covers himself in walker blood. So both covering himself from the creature and the walkers. He walks into the horde, and then he looks up at the trees, trying to spot the creature. He finally hears the rattling noise once again, but this time he is more prepared than ever, because he knows that the creature has a projectile on him, so he's trying to get close so he could knock off his mask and he could finally go face to face against this thing. Now when Daryl spots the creature looking amongst the walker horde, he makes his way throughout the walker horde, because again the creature can't see Daryl moving freely because he's covered in mud. When Daryl is close enough to the creature, he shoots his crossbow at him, hitting the creature dead in the abdomen, which causes it to fall down, and also shoot a plasma caster shot out in the air, which is basically a panic shot. This gives Daryl enough time to run up to the creature and go face to face against it. Now when Daryl goes face to face against the creature, he gets a few slashes in on his own. And now when Daryl is about to go in for the third slash, the creature blocks his attack and he pushes Daryl away, sending Daryl flying towards a tree and hitting it. Luckily, this is not a fatal blow, but this does daze Daryl for a bit, and which shows Daryl that this creature has superhuman capabilities, and so which means that he has to really strategically plan out his attacks, and he basically has to be like a hunter. Now, when Daryl is covered in mud, the creature can't see him all that well, which means that Daryl could go off in a distance and he could get in a few shots from his crossbow because he does not want to alert the walker horde and make them come his way. So he needs to be silent but deadly at the same time. So that's what Daryl does. He goes back, he creates a little bit of distance from this creature, and he shoots the crossbow at it, which does hit this creature at the leg, which causes it to scream. The walker horde is slowly approaching the two, where Daryl goes up to the creature and knocks off its mask, exposing its face. It's horrific. It is like nothing that Daryl has ever seen before. And when this creature's face is exposed, Daryl tries finding his opportunity to slash the creature's head, stabbing it and finally putting an end to this. But when Daryl is about to go, a walker comes up towards him, and the creature does throw a disc at the walker, killing it, which catches Daryl off by surprise as well. The creature wants to go face to face with Daryl alone without any distractions. So then Daryl, he gets one of his knives and he throws it at the creature's abdomen, but the creature does catch it and throws it back at Daryl. Now, because this creature does not have his mask, he can't use his plasma caster. It has to be fist to fist. That's where the creature takes out its blades from his wrist gauntlet and tells Daryl in a way to take out his knives so they could finally end this. Daryl takes out both of his knives and they're in a stalemate. Both of them are staring down at each other. They're waiting for each other's next move. That's where the creature strikes and Daryl dodges the attack and stabs its Achilles heel, which causes a lot of pain. It causes the creature to go down on one knee. That's where Daryl could finally find his chance to end this. Then Daryl, he slits its throat, but the creature is throwing up green blood, like how Daryl saw beforehand. And when Daryl's about to go for the final blow, he hears beeping from the creature's wrist gauntlet, and he knows that this is not good. Even though he can't read the numbers on the wrist gauntlet, he knows that it is a countdown to an explosion. So that's what Daryl does. He sees the walker horde coming, and he sees the creature laughing maniacally, copying Daryl's voice as well, and this timer beeping. So he has no time to kill this creature. He knows that it's going to die and it's going to take the horde of walkers with it. So that's where Daryl gets out of there. He runs as fast as he could, and in the nick of time, he jumps into a ditch where the explosion finally takes place, and it does damage Daryl a little bit, but the creature is finally dead, and it took the horde of walkers down with it. The sheer might of this explosion causes Daryl to go unconscious, but when he finally wakes up a few hours later, he sees a giant crater in the distance where the creature and himself were. So this means that the explosion was so huge it was kind of like a nuclear explosion. Daryl is covered in blood, he's still at daze, and he's trying to make his way back to the cabin. And he knows that if he tells anyone this, no one will believe him. Yes, the world is in a horrible position right now with the walkers and all these other communities and these groups, but an alien, a humanoid figure that is a hunter hunting him down in the woods is not believable. That is where they would cross the line. So Daryl chooses to keep this to himself, and he finally goes back to Alexandria a few days later. And yeah, that is the what if scenario of what if the Predator went up against Daryl Dixon. I had a lot of fun making this. I hope you all enjoyed this video and you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I had a lot of fun and it was really nice creating the story, and I know that this is not perfect. I've left a lot of loose ends there, here and there, and just there are some stuff that don't make sense. Comment down below your feedback and let me know. And if you guys want to see more what if content for The Walking Dead and just other content, and if you guys want to see more Predator content and also Xenomorph and Prometheus content, please comment down below, like the video, and subscribe. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.